League of Legends is a hive of scum and villainy. The last time I played it was several years ago, and it was a dark, dark time in my life for a dark, dark game. I almost barely just passed my degree. I almost died. It was a dark time all round. But I've stopped playing the game, and look at me now. So anyway, I've been playing a large quantity of League of Legends, and I've been thinking, who wins in a minion fight in League of Legends? So, League of Legends is a game known as a MOBA, or Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, maybe, which tends to involve a game where you and another team of players right-click around for hours on end in the hopes of eventually maybe beating them with your own unique champions to eventually destroy the Nexus and win. Or in my case, lose. A lot. The issue with this, obviously, is that you have to rely on other people. And in League of Legends, well, other people are awful. Just plain awful. But what if we remove the human element? We take the player input and get rid of it completely. Well, you'd then be left with the minions, these sort of AI-controlled, mindless creeps whose main purpose is to just walk into lane, butt heads, and ultimately just give you money. I hope to show that by watching two teams of minions, entirely just minions, fight to the death over and over again, we can finally prove once and for all that one side has an advantage on the other. Red or blue, left or right. And once we get this data, we'll send it straight to Riot HQ and blow this whole thing wide open. So how are we actually going to go about recording this and observing this? Thankfully, we don't just have to sit and watch hundreds of games in real time, watching minions fight to the death, because that would be boring and a complete waste of my time. Like, seriously, do I not have anything better to do with my life? Instead, what we can use is the practice tool, which is a tool within League of Legends that not many people use to, you know, practice how to play champions. But, importantly, it allows you to control various statistics and characteristics within the game. Most importantly, time. This, thankfully, allows us to speed through as many games as possible and really just get mountains and mountains of data really quickly. But Chris, what makes you qualified to carry out this high-level experiment and blow Riot wide open, you might be asking? Well, many, many moons ago, I once did a degree in biochemistry, which is not where I got this lab coat from, I got this from before then. You're gonna have to trust me because I have since lost my degree certificate. It's in a sock drawer somewhere. Oh no. But also, yes, we do need another observer to witness the various minion fights. And in the world of League of Legends, there is only one character who has the scientific prowess to observe this level of science. Volibear. That's right, this shirtless hunk of a bear is Riot's answer to the question of what if a scientist polar bear, but they And don't look at me like that. That is in the lore itself. So, with Volibear's weirdly shaped, hunky body, it's so weirdly sexy. Let's get on with the science. So, starting out with the blue side, we begun with a game. And immediately we begin to see some slightly weird bits and pieces. For example, we get these large gatherings of minions that don't normally happen in your standard game of League of Legends. But either way, despite this bizarre situation, blue side goes on to completely dominate. And this continues for several games. Is this it? Have we finally cracked open League of Legends, blown them wide open, and are about to just take this to the top of Riot HQ? Well, as all game scientists know, before you get ahead of yourself, you got to try the other side. So went, played a game on the red side. And unfortunately, we saw the exact same thing. Large grouping of minions, and red going on to dominate. Literally, it was just an inverse switch of the other system. Something began to kind of strike out at me at maybe not being quite right. It was at this moment of 5 games into my experiment, I decided to see things in real time, without the time skipping. So I created a custom game with just me and the minions, and began to observe. And, well, it was tediously boring. Because you see, the average game of League of Legends realistically takes 30 to 40 minutes at the top end, but at least you're doing stuff. This game took 51.5 minutes of just sitting there doing nothing. And I know what you're thinking, well, that's easy, you don't actually need to observe the entire thing, you can just go away and see what happens, come back later. Oh, that's all well and good, except for, well... So, having to sit there and intermittently click over and over again to make sure I didn't get kicked for AFK in my own custom game, we observed some bits and pieces. 1. The large groups of minions that we saw clumping together in the time skip form wasn't really happening anymore. Almost by design, like it's actually meant to be this way, the minion waves would just more or less cancel each other out and just kind of repeatedly die. So something was clearly up there. Secondly, I really began to realise that maybe I was just wasting my time. Because, well, you see, the blue went on to dominate again, even if you can call 51.5 minutes a domination. But it was at this moment that I suddenly realised I had missed an incredible, fatal flaw in my experiment. What the hell is this? Minions do extra damage and then also take less damage? I don't understand what this was. So I jumped to my nearest search engine and learned something about the game that I'd never known in my many, many years of wasting my life. You see, minions take more or do more damage or take less damage depending on the level difference in the game. My testing scenario had a level difference. My level 1 volley bear sat doing hard science in the Nexus spawn pool was 1 level higher than the other team, which had nothing. Finally, this could explain the total domination, and at long last, we can get onto some good, hard science. I dived right back into the practice tool and enlisted the help of the only other bear that I know to be in League of Legends. Udyr. This CPU control player means that each side will now have a contestant, so everyone's level difference will be equal and it'll be really easy and we can just completely... Udyr, no! Udyr, please! You're ruining the experiment, Udyr! Turns out, in the practice tool, you can't control the CPU players, so they kind of just go around doing their own thing, like attacking minions and leveling up and ruining your entire experiment. Was this the end of my experiment? All my dreams of going to Riot HQ and blowing it wide open are just in the bin. I could easily spend hundreds of hours of my life enlisting the aid of maybe some friends to sit in custom games and spend hours upon hours of our lives just sat there in the spawn pools, making sure to not disconnect, to observe this game from happening. The issue being is if I did that, I probably wouldn't have any friends at the end of this, and I already have no friends. Like any individual who felt depressed, defeated, and like they had no purpose in life and just basically had nothing going on for them, I turned to Reddit. It was here though that the user, the Guardian Zero, revealed the secrets of the universe to me. Not how to be the Suck Lord. Don't really know what that is, and to be honest, I don't think I want to know. But instead, they taught me the ways of the target dummy. This solved my problems. The target dummies, they're taking into account in the level difference. Suddenly, we're cooking science again with gas. This solved the problem of the level difference due to my observing presence. And with this, science can presume. Sure, I've not really solved the problem of the giant minion waves, but you know, I'm not a god. I am but a simple, humble scientist and his weirdly attractive bear science companion. At this point, I was on a roll. I started doing 10 lots of games on each side of the board, and also recording whether or not my side won when I was on that side, to account for whether or not that had any influence on things. And things were going great. Suddenly the other side was winning games, even when it wasn't even my side. It seemed like everything was going according to plan. Sort of. Also, this was really boring. Around about game 28, I was immediately bored out of my skull, which is a problem, because I'm only like a quarter of the way through this experiment, and I already yearn for death. Disaster struck. Game 32, I observed something strange. Something possibly brought about by the time compression. What the hell is this? Like, look at this. This isn't how things are meant to be. For some reason, the time skipping makes the turrets not really work properly anymore. So you just have this lone little minion just going to town on this single tower, and none of the other minions give a care in the world about it. Oh god, this is possibly going to ruin everything. Thankfully, this is a phenomenon that was kind of seen ubiquitously throughout the entire experiment. Both sides did it, and it happened more or less kind of randomly, and so I can only hope that again it just kind of evens itself out. No one side benefited the most from this, because it was something that I began observing and seeing just all the time on every side. This could also be an explanation as to why we have such large groups of minions, because the towers don't actually kill them, because the towers don't actually work most of the time. So with a number of issues that I just have to kind of hope even them each other's out, like I'm hoping they just keep each other in check. Hopefully that's how science works. It's been a while since I've done my degree. But with all of that, we now have some results we can look at. Hooray! But also it's important to, now that we have learned about the level difference, observe things in real time. An issue being though is that the practice tool only allows you to have games of 59-ish minutes long, and if when there was a level difference which made my minion stronger, the game took 51 minutes and 30 seconds, it's unlikely that once we've leveled the playing field, it's not going to take longer, like a lot longer. And then you also have the issue of like, well, now I have to try and actually sit here and maybe wrangle some friends together to at least see what happens, but then you have just the lever buster and After 100 games, we finally have some results. Red has 52 wins, blue 48. Is this it? Have we cracked this wide open? Red side has an inherent slight advantage. It's all well and good having these values, but we don't actually know how statistically relevant they are. We need to do some statistics. So roll up those sleeves, cause it's time to do a t-test. I forgot how to do a t-test. So after doing some reading online about how to do t-tests, I found a website that would do it for me. Hooray! So why are we doing a t-test, you may ask? It's a very simple statistical test. With your values, you don't really know how much of it was down to just random chance. You know, it could easily have just been entirely down to just chance that led to these results. So a t-test compares all your results and number of repetitions you do, kind of make it better, and it will determine through science magic whether or not your value was potentially, or your results are necessarily just random chance or possible actual observations that have made. Realistically, you want like a p-value of 0.05, because that suggests there's a 5% chance that your results are through chance. So let's hope for that. It's important to know that when I was doing the t-test for these values, I split them into like 5 groups of 20, which included 10 lots of blue and 10 lots of red. That's like a single data cluster. And then we'd record how many times blue won, how many times red won. And in doing this, our p-value was a whopping 0.783. This would mean that our results, well, there's a 78% chance that any difference from either side was entirely down to, well, random chance, and that maybe this was just simply a coin flip of a scenario. I've not blown this wide open. It's just possibly, as anyone would have predicted, a simple 50-50. But what if I use a bigger data set? You know, what if I use like 200 games or 1,000 games or 1,000,000 games? Surely there must be some difference. No matter how slight it might be, there must be some difference to make, well, this worthwhile, because otherwise, what was the point? Like, what was the point in any of this?